So in this video, what I'm going to talk about is how to deprime and resize your brass using a press. Now this is the method that I use. There's a couple other different methods, but I find this one to be pretty good for my needs, and I haven't had any issues at all. So first little subsection of this video is going to be how to set up your die properly for resizing. The instructions that comes with the RCBS dies, they're pretty good, but I found them a little bit confusing, overwhelming the very first time that I got into reloading. So I figured that I would just go through it in my own words on what to do here. So first thing you're going to want to do is take your shell holder, put it in your brass, or put it in your press, like so, and then screw in your resizing and depriming die, which it's the one that has the pin in it. Not all the way, but far enough where it isn't going to fall out. Run this thing all the way up. So just leave it sit. And then run the die all the way down until it hits that shell holder. When it hits the shell holder, run the press back down and then screw the die another 1/8 to 1/4 turn. And then kind of secure the black washer there, and then run the press back up, and then you should feel it cam at the very bottom of the pole, and that's exactly what you want. If you feel it cam, see how it bounces there, then you know you're good. So you run it back down, then you take your Allen wrench and make sure you have some good ones so you don't strip these little brass set screws. And then you tighten it up. And I found with these set screws that when you tighten them up, sometimes when you back out the die, they're still not all the way tight. So I like to back it out so the black washer isn't against the press, and give it another turn. Doesn't need to be super tight, but it needs to be pretty tight. Okay, that's it for adjusting the resizing die. Next, we'll go ahead and show you how to do the case loop, and then we're going to do show you how to adjust this depriming pin here. So we'll get the cameras readjusted here, and I'll be right back. All right, next step, like I was saying, was you're going to need to lube the brass before you can run this brass through the resizing die. Or like I was saying in the last video, your brass will become stuck, and it's a huge pain in the ass to get out. If you can even get it out. So, first thing, case lube. You will need case lube and a pad. And like I was telling you guys in the last video, this is the method I choose for lube. You can pick whatever you want, but this is what worked for me. So, you apply this to the pad, not too much. Probably, I don't know, not even 1/8 of a teaspoon, if that. That's probably a little bit too much, actually. But what I usually do is, this stuff's kind of sticky. Take this neck brush and just kind of smear it around a little bit. It doesn't squeeze out of the case lube doesn't squeeze out of the bottle like you'd think it would. So it's not like liquid. It's almost like a Elmer's glue type deal. So once you smear that on the pad there, you're doing two things: spreading around the lube, and you're also getting some lube on the brush here. So I have six or so, I guess 7 pieces of primed brass. And if you've been watching the video series, I've already cleaned these once in my tumbler, which is why my pad's so nice and clean. And the way I do it here is I just run these on the pad like so. Take the neck brush, run it in and out each. And then you are ready to insert them into your die and resize and deprime. So let me readjust the camera here. I'm going to show you how to adjust the priming pin on your die and also do the depriming step. So we'll see you in a minute. Alright guys, so next thing that you're going to want to do is adjust your priming pin in your die. And to do that, what you need to do is unscrew this nut along with this threaded rod here. Just back that all the way up. Now, there's two pieces to this. So there's let's see if you can see it here. There's the piece that actually deprimes, and then there is the pin, which is the pin, and then there's also the piece that resizes the neck of the cartridge. So what you want to do is screw this thing in, and then once it's screwed in, then this pin, this threaded rod here brings that priming pin and the resizing up and down. So what you want to do is screw that in so it's out, so you can see it out down here about, I don't know, about an inch or so. Put your piece of brass in and run it all the way up, and you could probably heard that, but the primer just popped out and landed in this little tray here in the press. So I run it out, and you can see the primer is gone. So we'll do one more here. Throw it in the press, run it up, primer pops out, and that is really it. That is all there is to it. So what I'll do is I'll get the camera set up, and I'm going to run through the whole process, and I'm going to do, I don't know, about 15, 20 or so. Let you see, kind of gauge how many you can do in this X amount of time. So one thing I do want to note too is I was depriming some 30-06 brass, some old stuff, and my primer pen kept breaking. And I went through about 3 of them. I was pretty pissed off, and did a lot of reading on the internet. And what I found is one way to prevent that is if you run your priming pin all the way up, so the pin isn't hitting like when you're halfway down, when you're halfway through a full stroke on here, or 3/4 of the way. You want to have it so the primer pops out at the very end of the stroke. That way, it helps prevent the pin from, if it's a little bit off center, it'll help that pin from wanting to snap if the primers are tough to get out like that. So just a little tip that I found in the past that's worked for me, and hopefully it works for you if you have the same problem. So I will see you in a sec. One thing I wanted to note is once you resize, or once you adjust this depriming and resizing die, once it's all adjusted, you likely won't have to mess with it for a long time. So just wanted to point that out. Next time you get ready to do this, you won't have to mess with this. You just take it out of the case, screw it in, and you'll be good to go. So let me go ahead and run through about 12.5 pieces of brass and show you how this process goes without taking any breaks or anything, just so you can kind of see how quickly you can get through the brass. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you remember, these are the same 5 pieces of brass that were on here, so they're already lubed and ready to go. So I'm going to do these, and then the next batch of 6 or 7 I put on here, I'll lube up again. Sometimes the primers don't fall into this little mechanism they have on this primer, or on this press, very good. It works all right. Sometimes you'll get some strays on the floor. I think on some of the other presses, like the Redding, they have a tube. I think the primers actually fall down into this, into the piece of this press that goes up and down here. I like that model. I like that design a little bit better. But this one works good enough for me. Maybe if I decide to have one press set up specifically for depriming and resizing, and another one right next to it set up for seating, maybe I'll get a better press at that point. I shouldn't say better, probably one that deprimes a little bit better. Or maybe I'll switch to a different depriming method. There's some other ones out there. So you can see this is going pretty fast once you get rolling. Not a hard step at all. You don't have to worry about measuring anything. The only really thing that you have to be careful on is make sure you don't get a piece of brass stuck in the die. And the way that you make sure you don't do that is to make sure it's lubed good enough. Now if you put too much lube on this pad and you go and start resizing, you will see that you will get dents in your case, in your brass. So if you see that you're depriming and resizing and you have dents in the neck, those are caused from too much lube on the brass. So these dies are precision, and when you have extra lube on them and you run them up in there, the lube has nowhere else to go but into the brass, which is why they dent. So just keep an eye out for that when you run them through. Just take a look at them and make sure that's not happening. If you have a dent in the case, then that's going to, we'll talk about this in the next couple of videos, but that's going to decrease the amount of volume in the brass itself, which will in turn increase the amount of pressure, which could cause you to have a very bad day. So we'll talk about that in the next couple videos, but you can see how fast I went through that brass there. So the next step is going to be to run them through for a final cleaning to clean that primer pocket out a little more. So I will see you in the next set. Thanks for watching.